Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, probably, and evening to some of you out there. Welcome and welcome back. We're happy to see so many familiar names and faces, and that you could join us today. Uh, it just occurred to me somehow last night that we managed to pull this together in under 3 months. I want committee members, 3 months, less than 3 months, this happened. But to all of you out there, just so you know, this is a new platform for us. So congratulations on making it into the session so far. Like, good job. And thanks to Tara for the video, helping people orient to that. So that said, we ask everybody's patience today because we're learning how this platform works. You're learning how this platform works. And with over 10 committee members and 40 plus speakers across 6 time zones, I feel like the odds of something not going wrong are quite low. So there are going to be some hiccups, and just come along for the ride with us. Um, but I wanted a special thank you shout out to all the committee members. You put in so many hours. Thank you for all of this hard work, and you're so committed to this work and to this movement. And I believe it's probably because you stubbornly refuse to accept it whenever anyone's told you, like, well, that's just how the world works. So just deal with it because you know that we can be and do better by each other. Um, and you are committed to making that happen. And thank you to all of our speakers and moderators and session hosts, for sharing your time and sharing your work with us today and tomorrow. And thank you to all of the attendees. Right now, I think we've got folks from 44 states plus DC and 23 countries, probably not all at the same time because it's really, really late or early, depending where some of you folks are. But coming along and investing time in building an economy that prioritizes caring for people, caring for relationships, for communities, and caring for the places we live. Thank you. And finally, thank you to our sponsors, particularly the Washington Department of Ecology's Recycling Market Development Center, because we wouldn't be here today doing this if it weren't for your belief in us and in this work. So thank you. And I will turn it over to Tina. Speaking of which, oh, sorry, I knew I was going to do this. I'm Cami. I'm with Repair Reuse Washington. Tina.
Thanks, Cami. I'm Tina Schaefer with the Washington Department of Ecology's Recycling Market Development Center. And I feel like I joined in some of that stubbornness that you mentioned, because I refused to believe that this wasn't going to happen this year. And I wanted to see this pulled off. And we did it. So, as Cami mentioned, our little team of four was the main funder of this year's summit. I know maybe a lot of people are wondering why a government agency, a regulatory agency at that, has become so involved in reuse and repair. For those that don't know, our team, the RMDC, was created by our legislature, the Washington State Legislature, in statute in 2019 as a response to the China sword policy when China stopped taking many US recyclables. And that just resulted in tons of recyclable paper and plastic going to landfills due to our lack of domestic recycling infrastructure. And our team has been working to boost end markets for recyclables here in Washington State since 2020. And really, as the RMDC worked around end markets, we found that there's lots of folks that are working on issues with materials that typically go, for us, it's a blue bin, our recycling bin, cardboard, paper, aluminum. And what we needed to take on was a shift to those difficult materials, those valuable materials that were already being tackled by our communities. Things like textiles, agricultural plastic, tools, appliances through repair and reuse. And not only does repair and reuse support Ecology's mission to protect, preserve, and enhance Washington's environment by keeping materials out of landfill, it lifts up those who are the most vulnerable in our communities by building resiliency. And then it's within that resiliency that it creates jobs for our state. And resilience is central to Ecology's mission. And we have a duty, a true duty to prepare our communities. And we can do that through supporting repair and reuse initiatives. And that's why it's important for Washington to show up. And I thank you all for showing up as well. Amanda?
Thank you, Tina. That was wonderful. I had promised knock knock jokes, but I'm not actually going to do them today, to right now. But my name is Amanda Miller. I use she, her pronouns. I am executive director of the South King Tool Library, and I'm just really thrilled that you are here. And so we could partner with Repair Reuse Washington, RMDC, Department of Ecology, just to facilitate this year's summit. I've been lucky enough to be part of this since the beginning. Some way or another, the last 6 years. And we've watched it really grow since 2020, bloom into something truly transformative. And there's so many really wonderful personal stories, connections, friendships. I'm in awe of all of those things, but also the larger strides that the movement has made directly tied to this summit. Local projects launching, and statewide efforts like the reuse impact calculators, legislation from right to repair and EPR, and even the first National Tool Library Alliance that I'm very proud to sit on the steering committee for. But there's a lot of other toolkits and startups and sheer conversations that have transformed into collaborations that have transcended states, oceans, and I start to wonder just how large of an impact this big summit is going to yield. Not setting up too high of a bar, but as the Beastie Boys said in my ear this morning, driving my kids to school, that every thought is a seed. Well, hold on, what is it? Every thought in the mind is a planted seed. There we go. That was better when I was in the car this morning. But this is such a great opportunity to learn and be inspired. I don't doubt that you will learn something in the next 2 days. What that is, I hope it is transformative and satisfying to your work, your day, your world, and I hope that it proliferates into many, many more. That said, I have the fun job of asking you to make sure that you share the opportunity with folks when we have the recordings out. But also, we are trying to fundraise to make sure that this is a continuous effort. You'll see that the South King Tool Library is listed as the person that you might be donating to, or the institution, but just know that this is all going to go to the project for the reuse repair summits. We've made sure that that is not something that Skittle or two little tool libraries in Federal Way and Auburn are gonna go buy new tools with that funding. We will make sure that it is supported for all future efforts. And this will be such a wonderful 2 days or whatever parts you can join us for. So we can't do this alone, and we know how important this effort is to keep moving and growing. So enjoy, and I'm going to pass on to Liliana, and again, just ask for your patience with the platform. Maybe grab a pen and paper and a water bottle and go ahead and make sure that you write down or respond to any emails that you got with questions on technical issues. But Liliana is queued up to give you a good overview of the day.
Hi, all. Welcome. It's so amazing to see you all here. And I think sometimes when we land in Zoom spaces, we forget that we're all real people doing real things with our bodies and connecting with one another. So thank you to the 174 folks that are here. Um, I'm going to do just a little bit of housekeeping and then we're going to move into an awesome conversation with Kate and Ginko. So over the next few days, we're going to be sharing about how repair and share movements are helping build an economy of care and kind of the ties and connections that we see. During these meetings, during this summit, please stay muted during presentations. If a session does have a Q&A, we will have a facilitator take you off of mute. Perhaps the most important is to keep the lobby link that you joined in to this session with open. That's going to be kind of your main hub. Imagine if we were in a real life summit, you would go to the conference room to then go into breakout sessions. All these sessions are going to be recorded. They will be recorded onto this summit platform, and we will also have instruction on how you'll be able to access and share all of the recordings thereafter. Additionally, because this is a virtual summit and we can't see each other with our bodies and our hands in real life, please take care of yourself. If you need to go off camera, if you need to go to the bathroom, if you need to go get another cup of coffee, food, whatever, please take care of yourself. This will be recorded. And before we dive in, chatting with Kate and Ginko, we also want to make sure that you are utilizing the summit lobby and all of the different tabs that are available there to build as much connection as you can. So make sure that you check out the partner tab where there will be a glossary and resources under the Repair and Share Summit. But also make sure to check out the networking and kind of browse through all of the different sessions that will be happening in the next few days. Our main hope is to really make sure that you leave this summit feeling more inspired and more connected in the repair and share community. Okay, transitioning now. I'll have Kate and Ginko come on because while we're here in this Zoom space, there are many different we all, what am I trying to say? We all come here for many different reasons. We are some staff, some volunteers. Some of us are a part of repair and share projects that are emerging right now or are just a dream. Some of them are quite established. Some of the repair and share projects that you work with are very well funded. Some are on shoestring budgets. Some of you are just very curious and excited about this movement, and some of you are experts. We are spanning so many different places around the world in rural and urban settings, and we all come to this space, to this Zoom space with many different hats. Very much like when we join repair and share spaces in real life, because we get to experience something a little bit different for a few hours, something that is sprinkled with a little extra generosity and care. And something that brings us all together is that we arrive with a belief in something very practical, in that sharing something physically or repairing something physically kind of offers us a new way of being together, one where value comes from our participation, also our contribution, and our mutual support. So to begin this summit, I am joined here by Ginko Lee and Kate Hersey, and I'm so grateful for them to be able to spend some time with us to ground us in what it actually means to create these spaces of care in repair and share spaces, and what these spaces teach us about the future that we're trying to build. So I will pass to Ginko. Would you please start off by introducing yourself and Repair Cafe Pasadena?
Hi, hey, I'm Ginko. I'm joining from Pasadena. We have this repair cafe since very early, 2012, and that's a very long time. And then today, my main goal is just to share about what a really happy party that the Repair Cafe has been. Because at the beginning, I'm just joining very casually to do some graphic design and say, that's it. That's my involvement. But then after a while, Repair Cafe just have this kind of special attraction that you just see something very different from your everyday life. And then a lot of us has been just drawn into it and then continue doing it for a long, long time. So for me, it's like 14 years later, I'm still involved. And during that time, I have been kind of moving to other part of the world and then not connected for a while, and then come back and see the movement is still very, very strong, and more people has been joining. So we are a pretty kind of not very formal organization, but the thing is that a informal organization with just a whole bunch of people can do a lot of things. Last Repair Cafe is one of our biggest. We have 100 volunteers showing up to help in all sorts of different ways. And then we fix about 248 tickets in there. Um, this is like pretty amazing. And then the wonderful thing is that we are not overwhelmed because we have a digital check-in system that one of our volunteer is Michael Starch. He invented it and then make it works. So tomorrow on 12 o'clock, he's going to come in to share that tool with everybody. So in case you have the same problem as us to have too many people, then you can kind of consider using those tools. But the thing I think for me, the most important thing is what I experienced in the Repair Cafe. It is something very joyful, and it's something that everybody really wants to participate. And people come in, they give something, and also they get something in return. And it forms a very, very nice kind of loop in there. So I think that's what I would like to share with everybody in this whole community. And so we are Repair Cafe Pasadena, and we just do repair event about 10 times a year.
Thank you so much, Ginko. We'd love to hear about your background now, Kate.
Yeah, so my name is Kate Hersey. I'm the executive director of the Minnesota Tool Library. And our mission is to empower each other, reduce waste, and improve communities by sharing tools, trade skills, and shop space. So here in Minnesota, we operate 2 branches in the Twin Cities Metro. We serve a core of about 2,100 member households throughout the state, as well as a handful of our outstate neighbors, plus thousands of additional program participants, just to give you an idea of kind of the scope of MTL. So we have an inventory that hovers around 10,000 items, and annually we process about 30,000 loan transactions. So in addition to our lending library, MTL operates a shared community woodshop. At each branch, we host both weekly and monthly repair-focused programming, quarterly social and service events, and we offer a full slate of DIY classes and workshops. So our ops are primarily volunteer driven, and they're bolstered by the support of a small part-time staff, including myself. All together, we only make up about 2 full-time equivalent. So it's really the heartfelt contributions of our volunteers that over the past 10 years have built our collaborative and continue to create this community of mutual care. So on my end, I'm kind of the larger institution here.
Thank you so much for these beautiful introductions. As you both mentioned, you spoke to a feeling that is in the spaces that you embody. And I want to know, and I'm asking, what is the most important thing that you notice unfolding in these spaces? What do people experience there that they might not expect? Kate?
So I think it's really important to remember that it's hard to swim upstream, right? It's hard for us to make different choices. And so I think one of the most important things that happens in our space is that people get an opportunity to exercise that power of choice, right? They get the chance to make a small change, often something that's very tangible, right? Fix that one tool or borrow that one item instead of having to buy something new. And it is a small change that disrupts the status quo, right? And they're supported in that decision. It's sometimes that initial choice comes across as like this big, bold, intentional statement. But more often than not, it's a really tentative, cautious step forward for our members and our users, right? They don't have to change their entire lives to make this one step. And I think that's really important for people. And as an organization, by providing, the physical resources, the base knowledge, and the processes for all of our participants to tackle a repair, borrow versus buy, or explore that new skill, we mitigate that personal risk so that they can take that first step. And then, we just try to provide plenty of positive reinforcement, which helps participants take another step, and eventually they're on this journey that leads to systems change, whether or not that was, their original intention. And so I think that's something that's really powerful.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah, what about you, Ginko? What is some of the most important things that you notice unfolding, and what do people experience that they might not expect?
I'm totally kind of like echo what Kay was saying. It's kind of like gateway drug to this different world. After a while, I really feel that what I experience in a repair cafe is this other world that I really want to live in. One of the things that I feel really, really strongly in every repair cafe is the sense of abundance in there. Because like we know that there's scarcity, people doesn't have enough resources, as all people need help. That's all true. On the other hand, when you step into a repair cafe, especially after you've been there for like 3 times, you start feeling, hey, there's something different in here. Because I have abundance of help. People have skills. They are willing to help me to repair everything, to do this thing that I loved, and then spend time on it. If it's a cassette tape machine, it's important for me because I want to play some tape. And this person actually didn't dismiss it and want to take time to care for it. Over and over again, you see this happen. And then it's almost magical. It's like different world. And then also on the other hand is that we also have abundance in material. Because alongside our repair cafe, we always run a really, really free market where everything is 100% off. And then I think the community trusts Repair Cafe. So we have really good stuff showing up on the really, really free market. And you can get a new printer or something. We just need some books and everything. So after a while in Repair Cafe, you see this abundance of help and abundance of material. And then people are really kind of surprised and happy. And then there will be a lot of smile all over the place. People are just so happy. It's like Christmas. And then also, and I feel that people open up and have a lot of conversation between each other. So after a while, I think a lot of people come back to Repair Cafe again and again for that social connection. Because on this space and time, nobody is trying to sell you something. It's just kind of very genuine human connections. So I really feel that not only we have create a opportunity to reduce waste, we also created this kind of connections that actually feels familiar once you see it. So as an experience, there's no argument. We don't talk too much about anything. We just go in there and do the stuff. And I think it kind of touch everybody who show up at Repair Cafe, that they would feel it in their body that, hey, this different world actually exists and is possible. And I think that's why I think there's a lot of energy for repair event, a repair cafe. And I really wish more people can experience it, and it can be happen in every neighborhood.
Thank you for sharing, Ginko. Kate, what are some of the other ways that you experience people living differently than they typically do in their daily lives?
Yeah, I think most of us live in a really fast-paced world now, right? There's always another thing to check off your to-do list, and we're just trying to do as much as we can, and we've been conditioned, right? That more is always better. Fast-paced is always good, right? Having an empty slot in your calendar is akin to a crime against humanity, right? You don't have it scheduled. How is that humanly possible, right? And I think our lives have become so much more transactional because of that, increasingly independent. We've become more and more, especially post-COVID, right, full of online and remote interactions. And so one of those core differences that you see between that kind of hectic and isolating day to day and what we see in our sharing spaces is that return of community, right? It's that social connection, it's that belonging, and it's the permission for people to hang out and shoot the breeze around the water cooler, right? I think most of us in our programming, we have space where it's not focused every minute, right? And we say, yeah, just talk to people, hang out, ask questions. We let it be fluid and let kind of things go where they want to naturally.
Thank you so much for sharing. One of the beautiful things that you've both said is that people kind of get to embody different roles in these repair and share spaces. They become maintainers themselves amongst the other repair and share participants. And so our next question is, how do your spaces create opportunities for people to contribute even if they arrive with very little experience? What have you learned about people's desire to be useful or helpful? Ginko, I'll pass it to you first.
I think myself as an example, I'm really an accidental organizer. I'm an artist and graphic designer by trade, and not the most organized at all. But with this really loose organization, because I think when we started out, it was a little bit loosey-goosey with the intention of creating this really happy party. Because our founder, Therese Brumlow, is a long-time environmentalist. And then her intention is thinking that, hey, climate change is really serious. We need to do something about it. But we have to do it with a very happy party. Because more doom and gloom would make people paralyzed. And then you can't do anything when you're paralyzed. So it's just like just doing stuff. Let's do something simple to start with. So the first repair cafe have only like 3 sewing machine and some time bank member to starting it there. So our organization become kind of really loose, and then we have a leader for different team. And eventually, I think it become this structure that people just come in to plug in the skills that they have. Like, for example, one of our engineer member, he is really good at doing meetings to keep it efficient. So he was being put in that position. We kind of nominate each other for different role. And so I was able to kind of go into as this person who communicate, but then the organizing part, we have Melissa, another volunteer who's very good at that. And I think it's really important for us to be in an organization where we can just move into the space that we are good at, and together we can do something together. And also each team, like the tinker team and then sewing team, they have a team lead. So we can basically decentralize the whole organization. And I find out that over time that really work, because like there's no one person having to think about all the detail of everything. So that's really helpful for us. And then along halfway, we also find out one thing is that volunteers really want to come. We find out that Repair Cafe also serving one need, which is people need to contribute, right? So we have some retired people who are really helping a lot of time, but also people who are in a job, because we have created a structure so they can come and contribute whatever they can in there. So I think one of the surprising thing that other people may not know is that they often ask us, how do you find all those volunteers? That's difficult. But that is kind of one of the least thing that we have difficulty with, because all our volunteer over time convinced me that a lot of people want to help, want to kind of do something to make this world a little bit better. So Repair Cafe is really a really good vehicle for people to show up and volunteer. Another thing that we want to make sure to happen is that if somebody coming to volunteer to fix electronics, we invite them to bring their pens that needs to be fixed, to have the other volunteer to help them. So it's not like some high up to help people who are a lot lower. It's not like this. We believe that everybody have something to contribute. And then when they come here, they help other people and get some help. And also train all of us, the person who have difficulty receiving help, to open up that kind of capacity, because everybody in this loop in the Repair Cafe is essential for its success. So I think that's something that is a secret that I want to share.
Thank you so much. It's really just beautiful to hear you articulate that human need for everyone to contribute. That phrase is really sticking in my mind. Um, in knowing that we all have a different role to play, you both are in leadership positions in your organizations, whether you intended to be or not. And you also are both in places that where leadership and community leadership has been very necessary. And so our next question is, how do you stay centered on your organization's vision when the world feels so heavy? And how are you and how is your organization's leadership actually an act of care? Kate, I'll pass it to you.
So, one thing I'll say is that when your world is on fire, whether that is from internal or external sources, you really have a few choices, right? You can attempt to stay out of the heat, or you can suit up and grab a fire extinguisher. Either way, you have to make those choices both as an individual and for your organization. So staying grounded in your mission, in particular, and in your long-term goals can really help relieve a lot of that stress of uncertainty, and keep you as a leader and your team from getting overwhelmed by those immediate pressures that you face. We don't always have the time and the space to be as reflective as we would like, I think. And in times of uncertainty and stress, I think it's even more important to stop, take a deep breath, and ground yourself before you make those decisions. Because without that pause, you can get some wild mission creep. You can burn some bridges you didn't necessarily intend to, right? And you can very, very easily overextend your teams, right? We've definitely had our fair share of firefighting in Minnesota recently. And one resource that I'd like to share with you is our local Council of Nonprofits has created a really great list of resources that you can use to help navigate change that we put in the link here. I find these really useful in terms of providing context, focus, and a framework, both for myself as a leader and then as I'm working with my board and my leadership team, right? Because sometimes those discussions can get way off base very quickly. So when you want something tangible to use, these are great. Personally, I really like the strategy triage tool for the Center for Community Investment, and I'll link that in here too. It is fabulous. It's one of the better kind of strategy prioritizing tools that I've found. But I think it's really about looking at your day-to-day ops, organizationally or within your specific program, connecting that back to your mission, identifying options and priorities going forward. So leaning into your strengths, identifying your weaknesses, and participating where it makes the most sense. So sometimes that will be as a leader, sometimes as a mutual support or a coalition builder, right? Other times it's taking a step back and helping to serve as a mentor for someone else or as a follower in someone else's programs, right? And so I think as much as we are and represent a community of doers in this kind of field, sometimes we are not best equipped to tackle a situation. And I try to remind everyone that it's okay to say no. It's okay not to put that expectation on ourselves or our staff or our volunteers. And by grounding decisions in a standard framework, those choices are more often based on rational analysis, which makes them more equitable, more objective, and that serves all of our stakeholders, right?
Yeah, Ginko, is there anything else you'd like to add in terms of your role as leader?
I think we are a much more just grassroots organization. We actually facing this challenge right now. I think a lot more people, because of the outside environment, actually become more willing to come out to volunteer.
Hmm.
And then we see this surge of like 30 something show up. And the challenge is that how can we create structure that can absorb all this new energy to show up to do something. So I'm kind of like really in the time to trying to see if we can create new structures so that new people show up. We can kind of come in and then find some good places to direct those energy. I don't exactly know how to do it yet. One thing Kay was mentioning as a correlation builder, I think that's a very powerful path. We do have several new repair cafe or repair event that has kind of starting in last few years in West Side, in Echo Park. So one thing I think I'm going to do is to kind of ramp up the connections with this other local repair initiative, so that when people show up to volunteer, when we have all this new energy, there is a way for them to go. And another thing personally is that I really do not know how do I be able to uh, um, deal with what's happening out there in the wider world without being involved in Repair Cafe. Because like for me, I know that I'm kind of doing some work very locally in my community and building relationship. And at this time, there's big problems out there. And one of the things seems like to reinforce the local connections, have this group of people that we have been knowing for a long time and have the trust. And when something happened, these are the people that we can call on to kind of do actions together. And it sounds really small, but that's something that I feel I can do. And that really helped me to feel a little bit balanced on that. Um, Beyond that, I think uh, I'm going to learn a lot from this summit about how to build coalition and the other things in the 2 days. So to help me to handle what's happening right now.
Thank you, Ginko. Yeah, it's difficult because sometimes we look outside for our leadership, but really it's looking toward one another for like different ways and models that we can be learning from and leading together. I know that some of your organizations also have had to potentially adjust policies or just really, as you were saying, Ginkgo, pivot the approaches as different types of destruction are happening around our world. Um, and so I'm curious how you both have adjusted policies or systems in response to the crises happening in your community. Kate, would you want to share on that?
Sure. So I think when it comes to our policies, we have a saying that everything is a living document, right? So nothing is set in stone. And I think that's a really great way to look at things. We can always make changes, and hopefully all of our systems should be making changes, right? Nothing should be sitting there forever. We really encourage regular feedback and review, and we try to retain the conversations we've had and our decision-making processes, so that we don't have to rehash every decision as a new voice or a new leader comes on board. We can say, hey, look at this. This is how we came to this conclusion. If you have something to add to the conversation, we're happy to relook at it, but I think that helps. But we very intentionally don't operate under we do it this way because we've always done it this way mentality. And I think that's really useful, and it gives people the opportunity and the space to bring in new ideas and suggest things and, take ownership of what's going on. So during COVID, for example, we were able to remain open, and we fulfilled our mission by adjusting our reservation policy and doing no contact lending. Most recently, we changed our class cancellation and our item transfer policies, and we adjusted our memberships to allow for a proxy to ease the burden of families who were sheltering in place, right? Or who were uncomfortable coming to our branches or didn't feel comfortable coming to a class that happened to be scheduled that night because there was just notice of a certain operation happening, a certain activity a block away from our branch. So could we have kept our standard policies in place without, a monstrous impact on those operations? Probably. But it wouldn't have empowered the members of our community or aligned with our core values. And so I think making sure we are being flexible in how we're running those things is useful, right? We don't want to have to, with multiple branches, shift our tool inventory from one space to another on a regular basis. My minivan is not that big. I do not need to make more and more trips. But during this time frame, we can say, hey, if you feel more comfortable going to St. Paul versus Northeast Minneapolis, we'll allow a drop off at the wrong branch. Like we can do that right now, and it's not going to be heinous. I think flexible leadership in practice really is a question of like providing grace, right? So extending care and extending goodwill for not only those you are serving, but those you lead, and for yourself, right? So it's understanding that things don't always go to plan. People get sick. A huge snowstorm hits. The grant you were hoping for didn't get funded, right? And I think it's really important that you acknowledge all the time and care that went into whatever program, project, and task, and not just the results, right? So the other piece of that is really just knowing your people, right? And supporting your team as rich, multifaceted individuals with full lives, not just as someone who fulfills X role for you, right? Our fixers are not just fixers, right? And they aren't all the same by any means. And so again, it's really about building relationships that go beyond those transactions.
I would one step more is like it's not really transaction. It's kind of like anti-transactions that we are building those relationships in there. So over time, it seems the organization have a memory of things, how things being done. Our team kind of a little bit resist written down rules. We have to do some, but I think everybody kind of likes the way that it seems like everybody can do some changes on the overall thing. One of the way that we add any new services is like when people show up with that skill, then we add that department instead of having the department and then find people to fill it. So basically, our whole structure is reflecting who's showing up as a department. One thing we think may be worthwhile to doing is that right now there's a lot of misinformation out there, but there's not enough good information. So I really think that want to get a culture team together that we will kind of write up regular articles to explain, to share what we see in these miraculous things as the repair movement, and then kind of let more people to read about it, that it happened. Because sometimes we get some media coverage, but not really enough to counter what's the main narrative out there. So I think that's something that is written down and used as a way to kind of spread this idea to a wider community so that they can join us for the fun.
Yeah, everyone's invited. Don't lest us forget, we're all moving forward in this together.
Yeah.
And that's our next question is how do we remember that this care and longing for connection is actually part of our natural state? How do we remember all of these things in the moment, if you have any guidance to share with us on that?
I think it's hard to tell. So a lot of time I invite people to come to a repair cafe because once you come into the room and then you see the atmosphere and how happy people are, like they're just like this. Uh, the first time when I went to Taiwan, I helped them to create a repair cafe over there. And on the first repair cafe, the room is not very big and people coming and bringing their things to get fixed, and they're so happy. They people just come and nobody left, so the room become more and more crowded. So I think it's really important for the practice for actually happen. So it doesn't need to be a big thing because every neighborhood has those hidden people who have been helping their relatives, their friend fixing stuff, and just get two or three of them come out to find a little space and start the repair cafe, and then doing this, helping each other and see how you feel. And then after you feel it, you want to do it again. And then I think that feeling would kind of like slowly lead out to the rest of your life. So I think the doing is the remembering.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think a big thing, organizationally, it means not being overly prescriptive with volunteer roles or bound by really strict program limitations, right? It's trying to offer a few different entry points, right? So I know for us, especially our repair volunteers, a lot of times people will initially go, "Oh, I'd love to help, but I don't have the enough skills, right? I'm not good enough to do this." And I think, right, it's throwing open that proverbial door and saying, "No, come on in. Like, we've got buddies. We'll pair you with someone. You do not have to have all the answers.
Yes.
Do not have to be able to fix everything. Like, come in, test it out, see if you like it. We'll find the right fit." Um, and then also, I think programming wise, we try to do a lot with variety. We highlight different focal points for our public fix-in. So people have an idea of what different things they can fix. And they don't just think, "Oh, I'm just going to bring the vacuum cleaner," right?
Mhm.
And we try to make sure we have extra parts and try to make sure we have someone who's really good at fixing that item there that day, right? And it might not even be one of our volunteers. We'll partner with a bike repair shop on bicycle day and then use that kind of as a teaching and training tool for our existing volunteers and kind of the team that's there too. So I think making sure you're trying out different things and not being kind of stuck in rote projects. We always think of there being like multiple levels of repair too and sharing. We've got people who come in and do one little very simple project, and we have people who do things that are very, very detailed, right? And you might not be on, the hardcore end of the spectrum for your first project, and that's okay. And so I think also being able to highlight some of those really simple activities, some things that are in that medium realm, some things that are hardcore, really lets everybody go, oh, I may not be able to do this, but I can do this.
Yeah.
And I think having that fluidity really helps. I think often some of the most impactful and inspiring moments really stem from people's, what I would say are like their unexpected contributions, right? The unique and unplanned interactions that occur when people are given a space to engage, right? Because I had no idea that you were an electrical engineer for for 3 years and you did this, or you had this background. And I think that's what's really nice about engaging everyone.
Yeah. One of our volunteer, he cannot fix anything. If he hold up a hammer, he's gonna hurt something. So and since his wife is the head sewer, he's so envious of us being part of Repair Cafe. And then later on, he said, okay, I can roast bean. So before every Repair Cafe, he roast bean, and he is in charge of the coffee. And that's so needed by everybody. And then he become one of the major component of Repair Cafe. And so I think we need to have this community space that is open for everybody. Like our knife sharpening volunteer, Greg, he has his sharpening stone and he invented the story chair. So whoever bring in the knife is going to exchange with a story. So when he's doing the sharpening, and the person would tell a story and share something, and his station is like always so full of laughter, the most popular thing in there, and it's really fun. So there's different levels, a lot of different level in there that people can come in and then join us. Also with the electronic repair, somebody come in and say, hey, their throughput is very slow because this person is spending like 2 hours on the fix. And we said, it's okay. Some of the volunteer, they come in because of curiosity of taking things apart and really getting into it. And then who am I to stop them? We just let our volunteer to do their thing, and then enough volunteer will show up, and then they're happy, and everything will be taken care of. So I think that all inclusive, and then also a focus on the volunteers' well-being is something that I think is very important for this kind of project to really flourish.
Thank you so much for sharing both of your stories. And as we kind of come to the close of this opening session, I'm curious what really gives you hope, or if there's other stories that you would like to share that you would like us to hold as we go through the rest of this summit.
I'll say that I am always blown away by the passion and the energy and the selflessness of those within our community. And so the willingness of our volunteers to give their time and their talents to our local programs and our causes, and the care and support that we offer each other within this broader network is huge. So other fields are full of NDAs and they're full of trade secrets. but our movements are built of different stuff, right?
Yeah.
We know it, you can feel it, you can see it in the day to day. And I want to really encourage everyone to research, to reach out and connect with one another. Make sure you're using the Alliance, make sure you're using all the myriad of Google groups and Q&A questions and keeping an eye on who's had a really cool program that's in the vein of something that's interesting you, and reach out to them. And, you know, a lot of us are volunteers. A lot of us, if this is our profession, we work part-time, so you might not have an answer immediately. But I've never found anyone in our network who won't respond and who won't provide whatever support that they can to you. And I think that's really unique, and something that, you know, don't be afraid to ask. And don't be afraid to share.
Yeah. Well, one thing I would like to share is that I make a flyer of how to start your first repair cafe that I put it out there. So share it with people who want to start a repair cafe. Honestly, I think I learned so much over the 14 years by being part of Repair Cafe. One major thing is that I really see with my own eyes that so many people want to contribute. Altruism is really well and alive in our society. So it's a matter for the organizer out there that get everything together and then make it happen. Make it very small at the beginning and let it snowball. Because, like, as everybody in here can be a witness, that there's energy in there, there's this model in there. So just ask if you guarantee Repair Cafe is going to be a success in your own community. What are you going to do? Right? Get one rolling. That's the natural thing. So I'm really grateful to be here and then to be part of this movement.
Thank you so much, Ginko. Thank you so much, Kate. These were like beautiful words. I was kind of scratching in my own notebook of all the different quotes that you have, and I was getting a little bit distracted, but I'm not looking yet at the chat where I think there's a lot more information that we've all been sharing with one another. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for these reflections. And I think the main takeaway that I'm hearing from you both, and we'll look at in the chat and in the sessions later today, is that this world of connection and sharing and repairing isn't a far off future thing. It is actively happening right now. It is already operating around the entire world through these different means and ways of connections. And so thank you so much for being leaders in our community and for sharing your stories with us. Yeah, every opportunity to demonstrate that something more is possible and that is already happening is such a gift. So it was really, really, really beautiful to hear from you both. And with that, we are going to be reorienting ourselves to the rest of the summit. So let me give you a little Zoom orientation. You found your way here into this special session, and you will find your way into other sessions by always going through the Zoom library. So I will put that Zoom link into the chat, and you will go back to the lobby, and then you will orient to the sessions. If you have other questions for Ginko and Kate, you can find them in the networking tab and touch base with them directly. And we are just so grateful to be here. Here we begin. Here we go.
Thanks for having us. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.
Thank you, Kate. Okay, that's done.
And we'll all go to the Zoom lobby now to find our next sessions.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's go to the lobby. Find the next talk up.
See you in the next sessions. I'm going to end this, Amanda.